Okay, today we'll be talking about citizenship and rights, the meaning of citizenship, mode of acquisition, that's acquiring citizenship, the rights, duties, and obligations of citizens. Then we'll also treat political ideologies and theories, major political thoughts like Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, social contract theories. They are the proponents to social contract theory. Then we have nature and functions of ideology and types, we have the capitalism, though we're not going to talk about all of them here, but I promise I will try to explain just little on them so that we can get the understanding. So we're going to talk about capitalism, Marxism, fascism, feminism, socialism, communalism. They are not here, so I will try to explain on that. So to explain it. When you talk about social contracts, you know what is contract now? An agreement between two persons, right?
Thank you very much for trying to recap for me. Thank you very
But don't worry, when you have any question based on that, you can ask, but let's just focus on this. So the first thing here we're having is the definition of citizenship. What is citizenship? Now we've heard the word citizen, citizen, citizen. You're a citizen of Nigeria, you're a citizen of America, and the words. So when you talk about citizenship, a citizen is defined as a legal member of a state with full constitutional legal rights in the country in which he or she resides. So you having a legal right in the country, full legal right in the country, it therefore means you're a citizen of a country. Now, the person enjoys certain rights and privilege and all certain responsibilities and obligations to the state. So if you're a citizen of a country, you are not just a mere citizen just relaxing, eating, and just enjoying all the good things the country the country is providing. You also have your duties, you have your responsibilities, you have your obligations to render to the state as a citizen of a country. So in a simple term, you can say citizenship is someone having a full legal right of being what in a country, of being a member of a country. That's what the simple definition is. Then we'll talk about ways of acquiring citizenship. How do we acquire this citizenship? How do people acquire citizenship? Now, the first thing there is citizenship by birth. That's the first way to acquire citizen in every country. Citizenship by birth. What do I mean by citizenship by birth? It means a person is a citizen by birth if either of his parents, mother or father is a citizen of a country. You can find it in the Nigeria Constitution. And the Nigeria Constitution will tell you that anyone whose parents are the citizens of a country before independence, well, we're not diving into constitution. So by birth, a person is a citizen by birth, either parents, either mother or his father is a citizen of a country, therefore means the person is a citizen by birth. Then we'll go to citizen by naturalization. What is this naturalization? Now, somebody can become a citizen of a country where he lives through naturalization. Now, it's possible if you can actually satisfy some constitutional requirements. That's naturalization. Your loyalty to the country, all those things you do well, your behaviors, if you can do all those things. So there are possible things you can actually do to acquire that seat. So this is possible when you satisfy the constitutional requirements. If you can satisfy the constitutional requirements, you are a citizen of that country. Like some people will say 15 years, you will stay for 50. Okay, in Nigeria, they say you stay up to 15 years according to the constitution. So if you stay up to 15 years, you're automatically a citizen of that country. In the sense that the constitution states that you must at least reside or be ready to want to domicile in the country for what maximum of 50 years, right? So that requirement, you have to fulfill it. So when you fulfill it and live for that 15 years, you're automatically a citizen. You just register, do your necessary things, and then you're a citizen. Then we'll talk about citizenship by marriage. Now we'll talk. I think this was the question that came out last year. I think they've repeated this question up to 3 times in JUPEB. So when you talk about marriage, citizenship by marriage or registration, it's also is written in the Constitution. Citizenship by marriage. What does it mean? If a woman is married to a person of another nationality, in the Constitution, of course, they will not tell you that if a man is married, the man can become, they will always say women, women, women. So if a woman is married to a person of another nationality, she can acquire the citizenship of the husband's country through what? Through registration. For example, okay, you are in Nigeria, and then one American just like, okay, saw you and like, okay, in love with this person, and you get married to the person, automatically you will become a citizen of the UK. And then you have to register, follow the necessary requirements. You are now a citizen. Likewise, Nigeria. If a man wants to get married to a white woman, after marriage, you have to come back to the country. If you want to come back to the country, they have to register, follow the necessary requirement. They will ask for a lot of things. They will even ask for certificates, like all those kind of things. And also, they want to know if the person is actually a good citizen of his country, his or her country, before coming to the country. So all those kind of letters they want to know, they want all those kind of things. So with marriage, the person can become a citizen of another country. Then we have what is called dual citizenship. When you say dual, it means two things. You're acquiring two things. It's possible. So for a person to hold citizenship of two countries is possible. That's when this dual citizenship come in. Having citizenship in two countries. How is that possible? For example, if a child is born in Nigeria, is born by Nigerian parents living in America, your parents are Nigeria, but they are living in America. Automatically, you are a citizen of what? American and a citizen of Nigeria. Based on the fact that you were born in America, you know, we talk about citizenship by birth. So by birth, you are a citizen of American, the US. Then because of your parents and now citizenship of another country, you're automatically a citizen of Nigeria too. Okay, let's take for example, maybe your father is an Igbo, then your mom Yoruba, and then they will say, okay, you are from automatically by birth because your parents are both. This one is from Igbo, this one is from Yoruba. You are both what? You are a member of that community as well. So when they ask you, oh, where are you from? Even though they give birth to you in another place, you can say, oh, my dad is from Igbo, Enugu. So automatically you're an Igbo. I don't know if you understand. So I'm just trying to explain it in a simpler way so that you understand. That's citizenship. That's the dual citizen. We have honorary citizenship. Oh, sorry, I mistake it here. So as individual could be honored with the citizenship of another country if he behave well. If he can distinguish himself in a particular area, they can honor him with a citizenship certificate. So we move to the next one. We don't have to waste time. Rights of citizens. What are the rights of citizens in a country? Now, what is right? When you talk about rights of citizen, you said meaning fundamental human rights means that every individual at birth is endowed with certain rights. These rights are entrenched in the Constitution. Therefore, it's the duty of the state to protect such rights. Every citizen in the country now has rights. We'll talk about those rights. So now is the duty of the state to now protect your rights as a citizen, in as much as you are a citizen in that country and you don't mean any harm to that country. Your rights should be protected. Your rights should be protected. But if you mean any harm, like to the country, like committing treason, of course, when the punishment for treason is what? You'll be killed. So, but when you have rights in a country, your rights should be protected. When you have rights in the country, it should be protected. So that's what this fundamental human rights is talking about. Say every individual at birth is endowed with certain rights. As far as you've given birth to, you have rights. And these rights are entrenched in the Constitution. They are written in the Constitution. Those rights are written. Because without these things written in the Constitution, the country, of course, there will be a lot of anarchy, chaos, and a lot of crimes, and nobody will be held responsible for it. So those things are actually written entrenched in the Constitution. So what are those rights that are included in the Constitution? There are a lot of it, but we just have to just pick out these ones because of um, our study. So the rights here, we have the right to life, security and protection of the law. You have right to life, right to life. So you cannot just come and say, okay, yeah, somebody will just come and just kill you for no reason. Why are you killing? Even when you kill the person, the law will punish you for killing. You don't just come pick on and say, okay, I feel like killing somebody. Because remember, everybody has rights. So you taking the person's right is not called for. You're taking on that person's right. So you have right to life. You have right to live. You have rights to live, and these rights are protected by the law. So we have the right to ownership of property. You can own your own property in as far it's not legal, it's not illegal, it's legal. You can own it. You own your property like land, well registered, it's your own property. No one can come and say you don't have the right to it when you can actually provide the document that you own the land. So it's stopping you because your right is it's already stated in the Constitution. You have right to own your own property. Your own property, because it's your own, you have right to buy it, and that person cannot come and start dragging your own property with you when he does not have right to it. The right to education, every citizen has a right to education. There's no limitation to what you can do. There's no limitation to your education. If you want to go to school, you go. If you don't want, some persons will not even want to disturb you. Okay, what do you want to go and learn? So everybody has right to education, right to fair hearing, especially in court when maybe you're arrested for a crime. At least they should give you a fair hearing. Right to fair hearing, they should hear. So there's a right to actually fair hearing. Then we have freedom of movement. Freedom of, you can go anywhere you want to go to. It's not limited, but it can be limited when there's a state of emergency, declaration of state of emergency, or maybe there's okay, curfew, or there's a war happening somewhere. The government can just restrict those rights of movement, not because they want to restrict it to just keep you, to just imprison you, forceful imprisonment, stay in your house, no, but to protect. Remember, as a citizen, you have right, and that right should be protected. They are protecting you from danger. You know, it is the work of the government to protect its citizens. So if they declare that, okay, everybody should stay at home, once it's 6 o'clock, stay at home, don't come out, it's for your own good, just to protect. So even though there's, you can say, oh, but there's freedom of movement. Why are they restricting us not to? It's for your own good. Government will not want to do anything to harm its citizens. So they are protecting your rights. They are protecting the right. So we move to duties and obligation of citizens. Even as governments are protecting your rights, you still have a duty as a citizen of a country. You are not just there relaxing. You have a duty. You owe a duty to a country, to your country, just the way you owe a duty to your parents. That's the same way you owe a duty to the country. So what are these duties? Payment of taxes. Payment of taxes. A citizen should pay his or her tax. Tax. Why are you paying tax? It's not for the government's pocket. All these tax they are actually for revenue purpose, social service, to provide you with social amenities, hospitals, free education, school, bore waters. So it's not that you're paying, okay, it's a payment of taxes and paying it for the government, for their pockets. No, it's to develop the country. So it's your duty to also develop your country as a citizen. So you pay your tax. The obedience to law. Obedience, a citizen should always obey the law of the state. Why? It's for the common good of the citizens. If there is no law to guide the citizens, like I said, there will be chaos, there will be anarchy, everything will just be upside down. So the laws are there to what? To regulate our behavior, to regulate the citizens' behavior, the behavior of the citizens in a country. And the law is actually backed up by sanction. The laws are not just there. The laws are just there and they're not backed up by sanction. It's not a law, because what makes it a law is when you not break the rules And then those punishments, punitive punishment attached to it, punitive sanction actually now define the law. So obedience to the law. Every citizen ought to obey the laws of the country. So voting at elections is very important. There are a lot of apathy when it comes to election because most people will feel, oh, why am I going out to go and vote when they will still put who they want? All this kind of thing, when they will still ring election and the rest. No, if you sit at home and you don't participate and then they put the wrong person, you also should be blamed for it because you voted for the wrong person as well. So it's better you participate in election by what? Voting as a citizen of your country. You don't just sit and relax. You have your voter card. It's for the good of the country. You come out and cast your vote. Then we have national symbols. Respect national symbols. You'll be asking, why should we respect the national symbols? You should respect them. The anthem, when you are singing national anthem, what do? You stand. You stand honor. You are honoring your country. This is the country. You are proud of your country, so you honor your country. So the symbols, e.g., like the flag, when you see Nigeria flag, some places even salute, you see, and the rest, even the military, they do that a lot. Then the anthem and every other thing. Then we have national service. You serve your country. That's why after your university level, you do what? They will say you will serve your country for 1 year. So you actually go and serve your country for 1 year. You're serving. So you obey the call to serve your country through what? National Youth Service Corps. So that National Youth Service Corps was not just introduced for you to just go and suffer. Just even though they will say now your suffer continues, but it's there for you to serve your country. They are protecting you, they are doing everything for you. Now it's your turn to also serve your country. Serve your country. That is the duties and obligations of citizens of a state. Then we move to where rights are safeguarded. How do we safeguard the rights of citizens in a country? Now we'll be talking about obeying the country, serving the country, your duties, your obligation, protection of the citizen by government. Now, how do we safeguard those rights, our fundamental rights? Now, how do we safeguard it? Independence judiciary. The law is another thing. The law protects the rights of individuals in the country. That's the highest thing ever. So now we'll talk about independent judiciary. Now judges must be fair and not impartial. If they want to protect individuals' rights, if they want to protect invasion of any citizen, the private life of individuals, they have to be fair, not taking bribe, no partiality. So impartial in what? Protecting individuals. Remember, nobody is above the law. There is supremacy of the law because we're operating in a democratic system of government where every citizen's right is being respected. Now we'll talk about enlightenment programs. Enlightenment programs. What does this program do? It educates the citizens to know their rights as a citizen. If you're a citizen, you don't know your rights, which means you don't even know what you are doing. You don't know your left from your right. So all this enlightenment is not just, oh, they are coming to enlighten you about your right. You should know your right as a citizen. When somebody is trying to trample all those rights, you should know how to stand and say, this is my right. All those kind of things. So it's just to enlighten, all those enlightenment program is just to educate the citizens about their right. Then we'll talk about the rule of law. The rule of law is also applied while safeguarding citizens' rights. Now, in the rule of law, we talk about the supremacy of the law. So in this place, I think the government should actually govern the people according to the provision of the Constitution. And also, citizens should what? Obey the law of the land. Last week we talked about constitutionalism, and constitutionalism is actually different from constitution. In constitutionalism, the rights of they place limits to the power of the government so that they will not what? They will not trample on the rights of the citizens. And then citizens as well should obey the government. They should obey them. So when you talk about rule of law, yeah, it actually means government should what? Those in government should what? Govern the people according to the provision of the constitution. The constitution stated this, so they should follow. And then the citizens in their own part should obey the government, should obey the law of the land and respect the constitution. Obey the laws and respect the constitution. Then we'll talk about free press. All these also safeguard the rights of individuals. Free press, all these mass media, people coming in like that. So freedom of the press should be granted. So they should be granted so that they can write freely if this person's right is being trampled. Because even from the press, we get the government actually get feedback from the citizens. They get if what they are doing to the citizens, maybe citizens don't like it. Oh, these are our rights. We have freedom of speech. We can talk. So where can we express ourselves freely? Is the press. You go there, you express yourself. So those people, your right is being what? They safeguard your rights. So because that's where you can actually express it. The existence of Human Rights Commission also safeguards the rights of every citizen. Existence of Human Rights Commission. There are different Human Rights Commission that help to safeguard human rights, to prevent human. We have the Ombudsman, Public Complaint Commission, Parliamentary Commission. All these are institutions for actually human rights. There are lots of them that safeguard human rights. Now, limitation to citizens' rights. Limitation to citizens' rights. Now, how can a right, the right of a citizen in a country, how can it be limited? Because we said we have freedom of movement, freedom of this, freedom of this. Now, how can those rights be limited? What can bring limitation to the right of a citizen? Now, conviction. Conviction. Now, a citizen who is in prison has already lost his rights to movement. You're in prison now, so how will you be moving around? So conviction can restrict the rights of a citizen. So when you are convicted in prison, you can lose your rights. Your right of movement, your right of voting, every other thing. Then trespass. You have trespass. Even if you commit treason to serve, your rights can be limited. So a citizen has no right to trespass into another person's property. You don't have right to another person's property that does not concern you. Go and start picking things from inside. You don't have any right now. You don't have any right because we have right to our own property. And then you coming to be destroying somebody's own property, it's actually wrong. So in a citizen has no right to trespass into another person's property. This is a limitation to freedom of movement. So they place that rule there. You don't have rights. That's another limitation. You cannot just go to another person's property and start destroying. So the constitution will place a limitation to your right to go to another person's land and start destroying things or taking something that does not belong to you without permission. There's already limitation to that right. You can't just enter somebody's property and do all of those things. So that's a limitation as well. The emergency period. During the emergency period, like I said, when there is war, outbreak of war, government can restrict citizens' movement. Does not mean that they want to forcefully imprison you and say, stay in your house. No, it's for your own good. So this can place limitation to human rights in the sense that you have to be at home. They can say, once it's 6 o'clock, we don't want movement, and you have to obey. That's restriction to human rights. Then we have public property for public use. Property for public use. Now, government may acquire some individual property for public use, like land, but they have to compensate the owner of the land. That's limitation to human rights as well, because in when it comes to the Land Use Act of 1978, it said it placed, according to the Constitution, It plays section 1 said it plays all rights, ownership of land, but is given to the government. So government have right over all the land in the country, all the lands in the country, all the land. So if you want to get any land, you have to go and register. And they give you a period of what, 99 years to acquire that land. So in property like that, because government has rights over the property, they can just come and like, okay, maybe for they want to build road and your house is beside the road, they can say, okay, we want to demolish this house. I know you have seen something like you have to cross there, but demolishing it, that's restriction already. And you don't have say, you cannot say, oh government, you're not going to do this, my house is my property, because they can only compensate you. If they don't compensate you, that's when you can, okay, I'm suing the government to court for actually demolishing my house without compensating me. Because government can use the property for anything because it's owned by government. They just give you right to just live in it for a certain period of time, like 99 years and the rest. So they can come and say, okay, we want to use this land for road, and they're ready still for the development of the country. And say, okay, the only thing we can do is to compensate you so that you can go and get another land. But this land, government wants to use it. With that, you cannot say anything. That's restriction. That's limitation to your rights. You can't say, oh, because it's my property, I bought it, I paid, I registered it. You can't take it. It's for government. So now the types of government also can also place restriction. The types of government in the country, like if it's a military regime, there's a restriction, a lot of things you can't just come up and do under a military regime. So these are limitations to citizens' rights. Now we enter political ideology. Political ideology. I hope you guys are really following, but you can ask your question after the class. So what is political ideology? When you talk about political ideology, political ideology. So in a way, I will try to explain it so that we can understand. When we even see it in the exam, we'll be able to answer it very well. So now what is political ideology? Political ideology is a set of beliefs, values, and ideas about how a country should be governed. It's simple. It's very simple. So when you say what is political ideology, it's a belief, a value, an idea about how a country should be governed. It provides a framework for understanding political issues, the roles of government, individuals' rights, and what the economy. Now, I gave another simpler definition of political ideology. Is a set of ideas and beliefs about how a country should be governed and how societies should be organized. So if you can't even remember the first one, at least you say, oh, political ideology is a set of ideas, a set of beliefs about how a country should be governed, how to govern a country, and how the society should be what organized. It has to do, there must be beliefs, there must be a value, there must be an idea. All these are under political ideology. Why are these ideas necessary? Why are these values necessary? Why are these beliefs necessary? It's to govern the country on how the citizens should what be organized. Then we move to the set of belief and value of ideology. Now it consists of core idea about power, authority, freedom, justice, and what equality. When you talk about features now, the belief help people to understand political system and the issues happening in what under politics in the country. I don't know if you are following. Are you following?
Yes, mom.
Okay, this you can hear me.
We're talking about the futures, right?
Yes, we're talking about the future features of this political ideology now. So another one is guiding principle for political action. Guiding principle for political action. So that's another features of um political ideology. Then we have political ideology guides decision making, policies formulation, and political participation. It helps politicians and parties define their goals and strategies. What's their goal? What are they aiming to achieve in the country? What is their goal? Their influence on governance. It shapes how a government is structured, how laws are made, and how resources are distributed. Don't worry, when we talk about type of ideology, that's when you understand this. It shapes how a government is structured. It could be fascism, how is fascism structured? Communalism, how is it structured? Socialism, how is it structured? Capitalism, how is it structured? And how laws are made and how these resources are distributed. Now, when you talk about socialism, capitalism, the way resources are distributed and handled and managed is different from how socialism we manage its production, all this kind of thing. Now, we move to what is political theories. What is political theories? Now, political theories are ideas developed by scholars to explain political behaviors. Ideas that are developed by scholars to explain political behavior, power, justice, and law governments. They are often the foundation behind political ideology. You know, we mentioned John Russell, Thomas Hobbes, and the rest. All these are political thinkers. They're political thinkers. So we said political theories. What are political theories? Ideas that are developed by scholars to explain political behaviors. I think we did that during the first week when we were talking about different political theories and the rest. Now, they are often foundation behind political ideologies. We get to see Karl Marx, Benito Mussolini, Adolf Hitler, a lot of them. Just know the names so that when you get there, you're like, okay, you'll not be confused. Now, major political thoughts. Political thoughts are ideas or philosophies developed by thinkers to explain how society should be governed. Know the difference. Talk about political theories. It's an idea developed by scholars to explain political behaviors. You know what is theory now? They want to explain things, political behaviors, power, justice. So these are ideas that developed by
Yes.
scholars to explain why people behave like this. Why is power necessary? Justice, law, government, different type of government. Now, when you come to political thought, he said is an idea of philosophies developed by thinkers to explain how societies should be governed. How are societies governed? Now, the major political thoughts you should know are communism, liberalism, fascism, socialism, etc. There are more. Now, when you talk about nature of ideology, we have the natures of ideologies is one, we have system of belief. System of belief is one of the nature of ideology. Now, ideology is actually structured in a set of ideas about politics, about our society, about the economy. So that is the system of belief, how the economy should be run, how the society is run, about politics. Now, we talk about interpretative framework, interpretative frameworks. Now, this interpretative framework help the people to understand how the words work and guide their political opinion, how the word works, and how to guide people's political opinions about things happening in the world. Then when you go to normative in nature, it said this normative in nature actually it tells people what should be. It tells people what should be and not what just is. What is supposed to be and not what it is. This is how it's supposed to be and not just what it is now. It's supposed to be. Now it expresses ideal and vision of the society. This is how society is supposed to be. This is how it ought to be. This is the organization that it's to be and not what it is now, what it is, what's happening. What is it? How is it supposed to be? Then we'll talk about dynamic and evolving. Now, when you talk about dynamic, ideologies changes. The way you think today might changes when things happen. okay, you think this way before, this is how the country is supposed to be. Now we're thinking another way. Like now they will say, oh, the way AI is now, we're thinking ahead. Everybody's thinking ahead because of AI. Now things are really revolving, evolving, and the rest. So now they're saying, well, the way you think, it changes. The way you think change, dynamic and evolution. So ideologies can change over time as society develop. As society develop, situation evolve. So things can happen. Your society is changing, and things have to evolve according to the changes happening in society. So ideologies actually change. Then we'll talk about influence by culture and history. Ideology can be influenced by what? By the culture of the people, by historical experiences. So it reflects historical experience and culture. Now we'll go to functions of ideology. What are the functions of ideologies? What are the functions of ideology? Now it guides political actions. It guides political actions, what they should do. It shapes public opinions, what the people think. It provides identity and unity. Identity, who are we? Unity, let's come together like communalism and do this. Legitimize, oh, recognition. When you talk about legitimate, it has to be accepted, recognized. So legitimize power and authorities. These power are recognized, they are accepted by the people. They mobilize support frameworks for criticism. Now we'll dive into types of political ideologies. Like I said, there are lots of ideologies. We have socialism, we have communalism, we have communism. All these questions, you can see them in your objective. They can ask you, communalism, the process whereby the production and distribution and management of economic is collectively owned by the society is called what? A socialism and the rest. So you have to digest and know these things and know the differences. So when you talk about communalism, communalism is a social and political and economic arrangement in which landed property and other natural resources are collectively owned, managed, and cooperatively harnessed by the community for what their common good or the common good of everyone. Communalism is a political and social ideology that emphasizes collective ownership, shared responsibility, and cooperation within a community. So when you talk about communalism, it means the collective ownership of what resources, distribution, production of what of resources in a community. I'm trying to explain so that you know from the word communalism, communism. So that's communalism coming together towards the ownership is owned by everybody, collective ownership, distribution, production, everything. Now, the one of the founding fathers of communalism is what? Julius Nyerere. That's the name. So you note that down because you might just see it in your objective question. All these things you are seeing, just try to note them down. So he's a proponent of communalism. Now, when you talk about the features of communalism, what are the features of communalism? Features of communalism. Now, the features of communalism is collective ownership. Collective ownership of land, like we said. The land productions of resources are what collectively owned by everyone in the society. By everyone in the society. And it's for the common good of everybody in the society. Now, families sharing resources, responsibility together for the benefit of what? Everybody in a society. So that's a collective ownership. Collective ownership. That's under communalism. Now, another thing is the community development. Opportunity for individuals to participate in community development because everything is owned and managed by everybody. So coming together collectively to work for the development of the country will be very easy because everybody will come together to work for the development of the community because they own everything in common. So why would they not all come together to develop their countries, to develop that society, to develop the community? Now, self-government, now communal government is likely to self-government where public issues are raised and discussed openly. They discuss things openly within themselves and ideas come in. Then decision making is quick to make decision, but everybody will actually contribute to what the decision making of the community. The landed property, they are collectively owned. All landed property are collectively owned by what? The community. There's no private ownership when it comes to communalism. There's no private ownership that this is my land, this is your own. No, everything is owned and managed collectively. Now we move to socialism. Socialism. Now, when you talk about socialism, it's a political and economic system in which state owns and control the means of production, exchange and distribution of goods and services. So when you talk about socialism, know that it's the state ownership of what? Resources. State ownership of production, distribution, exchange of goods and services. Now, one of the proponents to this is Karl Marx, a German, propounded this theory, socialism, propounded this theory. Now, other countries that practice this socialism, we have like China, Poland. Now, in Africa, we have Ethiopia, Tanzania, like that. So they practice socialism. Those countries I just mentioned, note them down. China, Poland, then Africa we have Tanzania and Ethiopia. They practice socialism. Now don't forget that socialism is different from communalism. Communalism, from the common, it's collectively owned. Production of goods and services, resources, distribution are collectively owned by the community. In socialism is a state ownership. You can get that from social S. Is a state ownership of production, distributions of goods and services, resources, everything. Now, features and characteristics of this socialism. What are the features and characteristics? Means of production. The means of production are owned by what? Government. State ownership and control of means of government control everything in the state. Everything, production, every production, resources in the state. The nationwide equal distribution of nation weight is maintained. Distribution of nation weight equally. This state gets their share, this state gets their share from what? The resources. Then employment, government gives employment, therefore. There's gainful employment for all citizens. For all citizens, there is employment because since government owns everything, it can easily give employment to people. Then free education and free medical service. Government owns everything. They run the resources, everything. So even when they are earning their money, they're still using it for the development of the country by what? Providing free education and free medical service. Then we have private enterprises. These private enterprises means that individuals are not allowed to engage in production and what? Distribution of goods and services, because the state owns the production and what? Distribution of goods and services. So no individual is allowed to own his own, allowed to engage in his own production and distribution of goods and services. Now, what are the merits of this socialism? What are the merits? What's the benefit of socialism in that country? Job security. You get a good job. There's no fear of undue loss of job. Since it is what? The government that creates job and employ all. Government creates jobs, so they employ people. The industrial harmony. There is industrial harmony because the condition of service and work are what? Uniformly determined by the state. So there is industrial harmony. What is happening here is the same thing that will happen in another place. Industrial harmony. The amount of the amount they are taking for production of this or selling of this is the same thing that goes. So exploitation is another thing. The tendency to exploit is eliminated in the system. There's no room for exploitation. Now, what are the demerits of the socialism? Where there is merit, there is also a demerit. So no competition. Because remember we said it's only the state that owns production, no private enterprises is allowed. So no competition. The aspect of competition is not there. And when there's no asset as when there's absence of competition, it affects the quality of goods produced, because most of the goods will be in a low quality, because there's no competition to say, okay, this person is actually producing well, and then we have to buckle, we have to increase the way we produce our goods. There's nothing like that. So no competition at all. So when there is no competition, the goods do not actually meet good qualities, they're low qualities. Then another thing is the control of economy. Now the government controls all aspects of the economic. It does not give room for personal initiative. The government runs everything. Your personal initiative, keep it to yourself. So government runs everything. Then we have monopoly as well. The monopoly. In a socialism, the state gained control of means of production. Only the state. So it reduced competition among entrepreneurs. No competition. The state owns everything. Controls everything, means of production, so no competition at all from anywhere. Even dictatorship is there, and rest. Even creativity, the sense of creativity is out of question. No, nothing, no room for creativity. They're just doing. Then we have communism. Communism is different from communalism. I think communism is the oldest ideology. Is the oldest ideology. So when you talk about communism, it's a political and economic system where all properties and resources are collectively owned. It's similar to communalism. Communalism, they are collectively owned and there is no private ownership. In a communist society, everyone is supposed to be equal and the government control production and distribution to meet the needs of all people. Now, who is the proponent to this? Karl Marx as well. Now, remember when we talked about communalism, we said it's a social, political, and economic arrangement in which landed properties and natural resources are collectively owned, managed by what? The community for the common good of everyone. Landed properties and other natural resources are collectively owned. Now, communism, he said, is where all properties and resources are collectively owned and there is no private ownership. There is no private ownership. Maybe when you ask a question, the question you ask now, like, what's the difference between communism and communalism? I think that's a question because it's kind of very similar. It's very similar. So when you talk about communism, it talks about political and economic, where all properties and resources are what? Are owned, and resources are collectively owned and there is no private ownership. Another definition to it can say is a political and economic system in which the community, through the common ownership, collectively control all the means of production and goods and services, exchange, distributions of goods and services. Now, there is abolition of class. There is no class. Say, okay, this is not there. Oppression, exploitation is not there. So the society is based on common possession of the means of production, and then there's equal distribution of goods, landed resources, and the rest. So Kamas actually wrote about communism. Communism. Now we'll move to the characteristics of, okay, I think we are done. So if you talk about the characteristic of communism, you get to see the common ownership and the rest. Common ownership, one party system, the use of force is there. Now, the state applies the use of force or violence to achieve its goals when it comes to communism. There's community through the common ownership and the rest. So that, but we have other ideologies. We have other, there are a lot of it. There are lots of ideologies when it comes to this. when it comes to ideology, we have fascism, we have feudalism. I don't think there's time to talk about it. We have capitalism. But if you want me to explain most of them, I can actually do a quick explanation on that. Now, when you talk about the difference between this communalism and communism, because they are very actually similar. In communalism, we have shared community property. Now, in communism, we have collectively shared property by state society. This has to be under the state. It has to then peaceful coexistence in a communalism. There is peace, but in communism, revolution and the rest. So you see, there are a lot of difference between communalism and communism. Now, other ones, if you want us to explain, since there is still time, we can just say, capitalism. We have capitalism. Capitalism is actually the opposite of socialism. It's the opposite of socialism. If you talk about capitalism actually talks about individual ownership and production of resources. It has to do with individual ownership, the economic system in which production, exchange, distribution of goods and services are what in the hands of private individuals. They're in the hands of private individuals. That is capitalism. And even Kamas was not in support of capitalism. So in this capitalism, under capitalism, that is when we talk about the bourgeoisies. I don't know if you've come across that word. You actually see it in most of the objective questions. When you talk about the bourgeoisies under capitalism, bourgeoisies are those people that owns the production of they are the production class, the class of people who own that control the means of production. When you say who are those that under capitalism, those people that own the class that own and control means of production are called what they're called the bourgeoisies. Then when you come to proletariat, the proletariat are those people they are the working class. They are the working class of capitalism. Then other ideologies, we have feudalism, has to do with landed property, like ownership of land based on what the king owns land and then give it to what the field. We call it a vasa. Give it to just give the land to a person to just acquire it, and then in return the person will be rendering him service, and the rest that's feudalism. We also have another ideology like we have Marxism, we have fascism, we have totalitarianism. So you should read wide and then know all of these ideology. Feminist, there are lots of ideologies. There are lots of ideologies. That's why most time lecturer will not give you everything. Just go and read, research, and know about all. When you talk about feminist, it's a person who believes in and supports gender equality. That is, a feminist is a person who believes in and supports gender equality, especially advocating for rights and empowerment of women. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when you talk about feminists under ideology now, the feminists under ideology would say is an ideology that seek to achieve equality between men and women in all areas of life. That's feminists under ideology seek to achieve equality between men and women in all areas of life. There are lots of them. Then when you talk about totalitarianism, it talks about is a form of government which the state has absolute power over everything. We have Adolf Hitler as as one of the example. Adolf Hitler. Even under Nazism, we have Adolf Hitler. Under fascism, we have Benito Mussolini, Italian. Under Italy, we have Benito Mussolini. Fascism is about dictatorship as well. So there are lots of them. So go and read about all the ideologies you can think of. Just do research, ideologies, and then you will get a lot of ideologies and read on them. So I think this is the end of the class. If you have any question based on what we've treated, you can ask, please. Ask my question.
Yes.
Okay, what is citizenship, please? So that I will know we're following.
Citizenship. Citizenship can be defined as the legal way of being a member of a particular of a country. It's full legal way of being a member of a particular country um, by fully constitutionalized or legal rights in the country. Citizenship can be defined as, what am I saying? Citizenship can be defined as legal way of being a particular member of a particular country. We have citizenship by birth, naturalization, dual, um, by birth, and honorable citizenship. And citizens of the country
Mhm.
have they enjoy certain rights like right to life, right to freedom of education, right to freedom of speech, and so on.
All right. So, what are the duties of citizens of a country? Their duties and obligations.
Payment of tax, obedience to law, voting during election, um, um, ah, obeying the national symbol like national anthem and national service, serving your country, NOS.
Yes, very good. So, I want to hear another person. What is political ideology, please? So I will know, and then just explain two political ideologies. Ideology.
So I'm the only person in Victor.
Oh,
If I'm
really?
not,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Thank
So
you very, very much. At least you understand. Well, do you want to try?
yes, political ideology can be
Okay.
defined as the values and idea about a country's about a country on how the country should be governed. And we have people
Okay.
like Thomas Hobbes, right? We have
Commerce.
right that wrote about political ideology. It's first framework for political um, issues and all, and how governments should work on the people and right individual rights.
Okay.
Then we have communalism, socialism, communism, um, feudalism, capitalism, and so on.
Okay. Now remember the difference between communalism and communism. Communalism, it's like the production of goods are collectively owned by what? The community, right?
But, yeah,
Property are shared by the community, but under the communalism, property is owned collectively by the state. Owned collectively by the state, not just state ownership like the way socialism is. So in communalism, there's peace, unity, cooperation. In communism, there's what? Classless and stateless society like that and the rest. So, but you can also do more research because they can just say, explain this political ideology or explain any five political ideologies you should be able to explain more than, but at least they gave you five, so you should go and read more on political ideology. We have fascism and all those people under the names under them, so that in case you see
car
it in objective, it will be
under
very easy for you
communism.
to judge. So if I ask a question now, like under um um, communalism. The communalism. Under communalism or other capitalism, who is the proponent of capitalism?
I don't guess. Please, can you come again? Okay, yes, I get that.
The
Is Nyerere, what's his the name is kind of funny. What's the name again? Wait. Ah, God.
That's for what? That's for communalism, yeah. Julius
Yes.
Nyerere.
Julius
Okay. Yeah, it should stay
Nyerere.
in your head. Then for communism, we have Karl Marx or Frederick.
And
Then in
journalism.
capitalism, we also have Karl Marx. In
Yeah.
what's it called? In feudal fascism, we have who?
What's that nonsense? Um,
In fascism, we have Benito Mussolini. You hear that name a lot. Benito Mussolini. Then in totalitarianism and Nazism, we have Adolf Hitler. Make sure you know them. You can just see it on in objective questions. Sometimes it's confusing, but when you know them very well, it will be very easy. Thank you very much.
okay.
I think I will call it a day. See you in the next class, and God bless you. Bye.